I was assigned chapter 7 on the bait cell, and the thing I found most interesting was their emphasis on the similarity of cells in the cortex, not only across different regions of the cortex responsible for different activities, but the similarity across species. This chapter focused on the bait cell, also known as the pyramidal cells of baits. They are found in layer 5 of the primary motor cortex. Layer 5 is thicker in the primary motor cortex than in other layers of the cortex, and they're found mainly in the dorsal and medial areas. They are distinguishable by their large soma, their numerous branching dendrites, and their wide axon, which projects deeper into the brain to areas such as the basal ganglia, the thalamus, and the brain stem to synapse with neurons that activate the spinal cord and contribute to control. Me about the cortex is how such similar structures of cells can be responsible for the processing of such different information, such as numerous types of sensory information and motor control impulses that the cortex is responsible for. An interesting quote from an article we read this term was, this similarity has led to the idea of a common canonical microcircuit employing a similar computational strategy to process multiple types of information. This type of relationship is termed serial homology, a similarity in the organization of different structures within a single organism. Serially homologous structures consist of variations on a theme containing similar classes of cells organized in the same basic pattern. There's still so much we're learning about the cells of the cortex, and I don't pretend to assert that this is a fact, but it seems that the similarity of the cells across the entirety of the structure contribute to the adaptability of responding to damages in parts of the cell to parts of the brain, and cells from other parts taking responsibilities of the damaged parts. Perhaps a quote from the book, The Story of the Brain in 10.5 Cells, says that as an example of this, the digits of the left hand of a violinist do considerably more work than the fingers of the bow hand. Over time and with training, the size of the hand of the homunculus, representing the left-hand side of the body on the right hemisphere of the cortex, grows larger. It begins to take over some of the modules that belong to another finger, absorbing the circuitry that was previously used to control a different set of muscles. It is not known whether this is because unused connections are gradually activated or because axons or dendrites start growing into neighboring territories, as sometimes observed with pyramidal neurons. It's a quote from Wingate. Our texts this term have continually emphasized the similarities of the cortex across mammalian species. I found one study that used spectral embedding, which is the use of diffusion maps, and a joint similarity matrix to compare macaque, monkeys, and human cortex. They found common functional organization as shown in these images. They had a similar layout of what cortex was responsible for what function. This was particularly homologous in sensory areas such as the visual cortices, the middle temporal area, the auditory area, and the dorsal somatomotor areas. They found the largest difference in cortex, obviously, in the prefrontal cortex, which is attributed as what is such a large difference between humans and other species. Thanks so much for listening.